she really?
Yeah, she
Oh,
does.
no kidding. Wow. Call the meeting of June 18th of the Athol-Royalston Regional School Committee to order. The first thing on the agenda this evening is the Pledge of Allegiance. Frank, would you lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Next up, the approval of the minutes for May 21st. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None. Okay. I don't believe there was any public input when I looked the last time, so. Okay, thank you. Is there a student rep tonight? Nope.
There are
No,
no
there's
students.
not.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's all right. All right, earlier for the committee, there were student recognitions as follows. From Athol High School, Jalen Chapalonis and Aubrey Fortin. From ARMS, Alexandra Laterno and Dexter Gibson. ACES, Maggie Mitchell and Lily Chapman. RCS, Acalia Smith, Levi Hopkins. And the Subway Scholars were Kaya Steinhardt and Asia Britt.
Congratulations. Also, we do have
Okay.
one recognition present. And
Okay.
I do believe there may have been a couple of other people that had prepared some words for some of our other retirees.
Sure, perfect. So I'm not,
Honestly, I'm not sure who's prepared what for who. Sally Quinton.
okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Webster, if you could come say a few words.
That's my cue.
Yes.
So I'm here to speak for our friend Sally, who, after 28 years of dedicated service at our middle school here, wanted to share some thoughts that our staff had, and these are just a few, about Sally and the 28 years she was here. Sally was a rock for the school. She always knew what to do. I'll miss stopping by and chatting with her, and sad to see her go. She took everything in stride. Being a school nurse cannot possibly be easy, but she made it look that way. And her work is immeasurable. The ripples of her care for students and staff will be felt for generations to come. She was one of the first to welcome me and continue to make me feel welcome throughout my time here at ARMS, was one teacher. And working with Sally for nearly 20 years, this teacher can truly say that she has always been there whenever she needed her, whether it was working to ensure that someone had a physical so they could play on the football team or providing training that even helped in another job. Sally was always ready to step in. She has a genuine heart for helping others and never hesitates to lend a hand, and her dedication, kindness, and support is deeply missed. Her calm and gentle demeanor always made students and staff feel better. Always looked forward to being able to chat with Sally for a few minutes. And this teacher said that she always knew Sally since the start at ARMS in 2002. And she had not only been the epitome of a school nurse for her students, but the glue that held the staff together during COVID. COVID was a difficult time period, and having to teach during COVID was in itself a very hard time for this teacher. She was there for health concerns throughout this teacher's career at ARMS, taking blood pressure, helping out with children's illnesses. It was so much the reason why she was able to be the best teacher that she could be for her students. She earned her retirement, and I hope she has many, many years to enjoy this time in her life. God gave us an angel when he brought Sally to our school. And lastly, this teacher had the pleasure of working with Sally at RCS and then here at ARMS. And she's always pleasant and professional, and even with her, when her office was crowded with students, she was patient and kind. I will really miss her, but wish her well in her retirement. And I can echo much of that just in the just over a year really. I think it was this fall that she retired. But she still stayed to help with our new staff that came on board in the health office. She's been unselfish and just a wonderful person to work with and a big smile. So we really will miss her, and thank you.
Even after her retirement for this past year, she continued to maintain a couple of the responsibilities from the lead nurse position, which was extremely helpful. And while she was not able to attend this evening, she was able to sneak into graduation for the 8th grade last night. So I think she got to see the kids, which is certainly what she wanted to do. So I wish her the very best.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak for her, so thank you.
We'll move down the list a little bit to take the opportunity to recognize Patricia Bradley from the Athol High School CAF.
Patty always has something to say, so I thought she was going to say something.
No one put on the spot.
This is for you, all those people up there watching you. We were graced with Patty's presence 3.5 years ago. She retired from her first job, was commuting back and forth from Boston, and said that was enough. She moved to the community 20 years ago, and she joined our cafeteria staff at Athol High School. And for the last 3.5 years, hardworking, dependable, but more than anything, a positive, contributing employee in our school district. Every single day, a smile, genuine, have conversations with students. You need superheroes like Patty and the rest of our cafeteria staff. Patty, as you know, my mother being a former cafeteria worker, you know, you're close to my heart and all those workers, so I appreciate everything you've done for us and our school and our students, and we will definitely miss you, but you deserve to retire.
I'll be around. I'll be around to visit. I had a good time working there. The kids, most of the kids have great attitudes. They're very polite. I enjoyed it.
And I can say that Patty not only welcomes all of the students and makes them feel at home, but when I started here, she made me feel welcome and made me feel at home. She's just a pleasure to see at work because her spirits bring up everybody no matter what's going on. So I want to thank you for that, Patty.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, moving back up the list, Jean Olson, ACE's Assistant CAF Manager.
I don't believe we have any
Okay.
words for that.
David Beauchamp, School Psychologist.
I believe Christy is
Okay.
going to come up and present for him.
Hi, everyone. So Dave Beauchamp is a school psychologist who he actually retired in December, and when we were unable to fill the position, he said, oh, okay, I'll come back. And he's been working practically full-time doing per diem work for us. So we're really sad to see him go. He started his career right here in Athol. And in the years since, he's done it all. He's been a special education director, a superintendent. He created an early childhood program. You name it, he's done it. He always has a heart full of dedication to the children and families that he works with. Some of the staff have said things like what makes him stand out isn't just his impressive resume, it's the way he goes about his day, the way he listens. Presenting information at an IEP meeting about your child is sometimes a very challenging thing to hear. He makes people feel heard. He always listens. He's knowledgeable about how school systems work, and his deep commitment to what is best for kids is what has always been his compass. He helps families to understand not only what's happening now, but how it might impact their kids in the future. He's a calming presence, has a sharp mind, and a thoughtful soul. He gives advice and actually sticks with you. Probably not because he's just smart, but it's true. Outside of work, he's a builder of beautiful things out of wood, which honestly feels like the perfect metaphor. He's a builder of people, of trust, and of good things that last. So Dave, we're really happy for you that you are finally going on your way and retiring. We're going to miss you deeply. From the bottom of my heart, I'm going to miss you. He's been doing a lot for us, so it's really sad to see him go. He leaves behind a legacy of kindness, strength, and quiet leadership that we will carry with us, and he deserves nothing but the best in the next chapter. So congratulations.
Thank you. Karen, Rex Road, ACES paraprofessional. Okay. And
Last but not least is
Yep.
Dr. Kennedy. I will share with the committee, Dr. Kennedy has been vehemently opposed to any type of celebration at the school for her retirement. I believe she began the start of the year telling Jody that, and it's just gotten more and more consistent since we've moved on. I did manage to sneak in a small celebration for her instead of one of our executive team meetings, so she was grateful. I can say, I know that everyone around this table has seen Dr. Kennedy's work and has been with her to know how much she has contributed to this district. And I can say, because she did ask me not to say much, I can say that Cindy has been a tremendous partner since I've started in this district, and she has committed herself to the students and to the staff of this district, and I wish her nothing but the best in her travels. I say that because I'm not sure we're going to be able to get in touch with her frequently, at least for the next year. I believe she has 6 worldwide trips already booked, and I wish her nothing but the best on those and for the rest of her retirement. So congratulations to Cindy.
Thank you. Okay, there is no unfinished business this evening. Moving right along to new business, RCS open school choice seats correction.
Chris, Karen, do you have the numbers too? I don't know if you wanted to speak to it at all. Yep, please.
Here, do you want this copy?
Oh, yeah, thank you. So, we neglected to send the information to Jody in the correct format, so we gave like our list of current students and how much room was in that space instead of saying like, so we had the 5th grade kid. Anyway, so the numbers technically haven't changed, but we applied them to say like 6th grade will have this many spots. And, because when I was here and I had listened, I'm like, we didn't say 6th grade. So, in our, let's see, where are we? RCS kindergarten. Yeah, so it now is like, so it says seats open for the correction. So kindergarten, we still have some kiddos who are registering. The 1st grade will have 4 spots. 2nd grade does not have any spots. 3rd grade has 2. Our 4th grade does not have any. That's our largest group of students. 5th grade has 5, and 6th grade should have at least 1. I know it looks kind of, we just didn't give it to you in the right format last time.
I can make a motion to accept the updated
Numbers for the RCS open seats.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll say.
Good. Motion made and seconded, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Athol High School donation from the Athletic Association, construction of a concession stand.
I believe Dan Beavis is here to speak further about that. Thank you, Mr. Beavis.
Yep. So, if you haven't been to the high school lately, our concession stand is has seen better days. It has for a while. The Athletic Association has been talking about this for a number of years. We finally took a vote on Monday to fund a project to put a new concession stand in at the high school. So we'd like the school committee to accept our donation. We're looking to put it either next to the current structure, or the better location, which I think is where we're kind of leaning now, is to put it in between the pavilion and the bleachers. So it'll be more centralized to where our spectators are watching various sporting events in the fall and possibly in the spring. So we're looking to for the school committee to accept our donation.
Just a couple of pieces of additional information. that location that Dan mentioned, I believe there was some mapping out of where structures should be when there was talk about redesigning the field. And actually, the location that Dan is having this positioned in is where the original spot was supposed to be. The plans were to have it there. Regarding the existing structure, we were just speaking about this at Facilities Subcommittee. I'm not sure that it's all said and done right now, but the intent is to repair that structure, the door and the flooring. It won't need an occupancy permit because we won't be serving anything from it and people won't be in there. The plan is to fix it up and use it as a storage area for athletics. So that won't go to waste either.
And I think it's also important to notice that there's no cost for the district. And I think us putting it in those two locations avoids us having to take down the current concession stand, which also has a box housing the lights, or the fuses for the lights for O'Brien Field. So we want to try to leave that area alone. And we would be able to tie, if we move it to between the pavilion and bleachers, we'd be able to tie in electricity off of the current existing light pole that's there.
So we would just need a vote from the committee to accept the gift of donating the concession.
Make a motion to accept the donation.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion?
I just have a quick question. The lights that were next to the bleachers were all taped off at some point recently. Are those repaired, and is that safe, does that space safe now? Oh, they're, okay, yeah. Okay, that was all.
It was deemed to be safe, but we just did it for precaution reasons.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that was it.
Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? None. Thank you, and thank you to the Athletic Association.
Yes, thank you.
Frank?
Okay. Moving on, vision of a graduate.
Yes, so some of you are, well, many of you should be familiar with this vision of graduate work. I'd like to invite up Dave, Mr. King, who you all know. I also would like to invite, Ashley, have people met you here before? No? So I would
Just
like
on
to,
TV.
just on TV. I would like to introduce Ashley Santiago from Focus Schools. She has been helping the district facilitate this work, and she's done a tremendous job. I will say, as she will tell you, the work really came from the people that were involved in the process. I know there's reference to Bobby, who's not here this evening, and Frank were able to attend and participate in a lot of the sessions, and it was really an entire community endeavor. We had focus groups with outside community partners, we had focus groups with our families, we had focus groups with our students. I may be taking away all the thunder from the slideshow that I'm about to go through, but we'll flip through the slides too. But just as a overall picture, the purpose of this vision of a graduate work is to identify the essential skills and knowledge sets that we want our students to have when they cross our graduation platform. Basically, what do we want our kids to be able to do, and how do we want them to represent the district? When are they ready to leave the district, right? And for that reason, it serves very much as a North Star. Dave, feel free to.
I lost the coin flip with Ashley, so I get to do most of the speaking. You can kick me whenever you want to speak, all right?
Sure.
All right. So, yeah, Ashley led our group. She did an outstanding job in leading our group, and I think we're just looking to share what it's looked like for the past 3 months, 4 months since we've been together. So, as Matt said, that North Star is something that we definitely needed here in the district. It was also one of the 4 things that we were cited at Athol High School as needing to achieve to retain our NAASC accreditation. So that vision of a graduate is a component that has to happen in every school that gets accredited with the NAASC. So that's ultimately, we wanted a North Star for our students, for our district, and it was also a component of that. Vision of a graduate, as Matt said, is the knowledge, skills, and mindsets that we want all of our students to possess, not just at Athol High School, but at the middle school and at the elementary school, as they go along. Matt, if you could sneak back to that first slide, because I think that one's pretty good. Yeah, what is that vision of a graduate? So it defines the outcome that we want our students to achieve. Whatever those skills, knowledge, mindset, that provides a clear roadmap for us.
That's our backwards design for our strategic plan. And I believe I've mentioned in the past, we are in need of a new strategic plan, but first we need to identify what our vision for our students is, and then we can craft the plan to match our endpoint.
Yeah, the second bullet there is that aligns curriculum and instruction. So when we're selecting curriculum and we're deciding on instruction, it should align with what we've decided in the end. For instance, people probably have heard about MyCap, and if you haven't, it's My Career and Academic Plan. And we're currently going under that right now at Athol High School. We're looking to create that. And a lot of what we will do when we try to lay out that curriculum is make sure it aligns with the 4 things that we have selected in regards to the vision of a graduate. So I think that's a perfect example when our staff kind of look at that scope and sequence, does it meet all the components of that?
And just to jump in, as Dave mentioned MyCap, we've discussed the goal is to move that work down into the earlier grades. And essentially, that's the same for all of this work connected to the vision of a graduate. So we have a vision of what we want our high school graduates to look like, but we also need to develop a clearer vision of what needs to happen at the middle school in order to get them there. And then we need to identify what has to happen in our elementary schools in order to get them there. And at each step of that work, we can continue to reflect back on our North Star and say, is the work that we're doing here and now fulfilling one of these aspects of what we're looking for? And it really tries to simplify and hone in the work. Again, not to suggest that we're not going to continue to teach all of the core content and all of the requirements from the state, but these are the things that we want to make sure we're preparing that we are preparing our students for. This is the way we want them to be able to go out into the world. And when we have that clear vision, it helps us put together the roadmap to get there.
Bullet 4, I like at the high school level. So personalized learning for all students. That's someplace where we're trying to go. So students get internships, work-based learning experience, opportunities. And does our vision of a graduate, what does the learning, personalized learning that they want, does it match, right? So it helps my decision-making when a student comes to me and says, I want to do this internship. I'll go to the vision of the graduate, the 4 components there. Does it align with that? Is it going to help them achieve being a skillful communicator? Is it going to help them achieve, I don't have them all in my head yet, but I know it stands for CASE.
Active citizen.
Is it help them be an active citizen? If it aligns, my decision is easy. I say yes. Okay, so I think that document itself in the end, which will give you the honors of unveiling it at the end, has to meet that, and it helps me make decisions. So here's the group that was involved. We had a nice representation of stakeholders from across our community, from parents to we had someone from the Lions Club that was there. We had teachers that were there, administrators that were there. So we opened school committee members. We had it opened up to anyone. We also did get a nice opportunity to bring stakeholders in and participate in numerous activities that help them provide their input on what the vision of the graduate could be as well. So it's not just about us. We're trying to make sure the vision of a graduate also meets what our community wants us to actually graduate.
And to Dave's point, not only were these, this group was the steering committee. So the steering committee would continually come back together to assess where we were and what our next steps are and how to format the information we were gathering from all of the stakeholders and the group meetings. And as I'm sure, I could ask for a show of hands, how many of you got my text message to take the survey, please? Yeah, okay. So again, I say that not to put anyone on the spot, but just to show it wasn't just the work of the committee or these groups that we brought together. We've been putting this information back out to the community to get feedback, input. And then the steering committee was coming back to the table with whatever input we gathered and the things that the community were expressing they wanted to see within this vision of a graduate. And it was really a comprehensive process that engaged everyone that we could have in the community. And I would say, if anyone were to turn and say, we have no idea what this vision of graduate is, if you are not aware of it, then you probably weren't paying close attention, because we've been putting it out, we've been pushing out the surveys, we've been advertising about what it is and how people could get involved. And honestly, we were really thrilled with the outcome of participation that we had. So I'm not trying to disparage anyone in any sense. I just want to be clear that we've gone whole hog with communicating about this and having people understand this is what we are looking to have our graduates be. So
this is what Ashley did. So Ashley,
Yeah.
you want to talk for a minute about the process?
Sure. So as we said, we wanted to make sure that this is a document, this is a vision that is true for all students. Every single student who is walking through the doors of your schools, whether they're coming in as a pre-kindergartner or they're walking across that graduation stage as a graduate leaving Athol High School, this is the vision of where they are headed. This does not take the place of any of the curriculum. That doesn't go away. Your math classes do not go away. That was some feedback we heard from the community. So that was a lesson for us about how we continue to communicate about this. The curriculum that comes from the state, that comes from all of those important places, that doesn't go away. This sits in alignment with those important core content classes that you are providing to your students, but also what else are they getting from it? So perhaps as a student, I'm sitting in a 10th grade class and I'm in geometry and I'm like, well, I know I have to pass this for graduation, but what is this doing for me, right? I don't want to ever work with triangles in my life, right? That is a valid thought that, a teenager may have, but that's where this vision provides an opportunity to say, that's fair. And you might not use the Pythagorean theorem later in life, but what this is doing is this is challenging you to become a critical thinker. And this is helping you develop these skills aligned in our vision to help you, whatever your goals and pursuits are, both while you're in school and beyond. So we wanted to make sure that this was something that was applicable and visionary and aspirational for all students. And we also wanted to make sure that we did collect a lot of input from a lot of stakeholders. This was not just supposed to be a group of people sitting at a table behind closed doors, but how could we bring together people from both Athol and Royalston, sitting in a lot of different tables and talking about what's most important for our students. Not because it's what the state says, not because it's what colleges and universities say, although we looked at those pieces, but what's important to us for our kids and what we want for our community. So we did just that. We assembled a steering committee of diverse stakeholders who came together and did some research. What are we currently doing, and what are people saying about what are the skills that students need to be successful in a post-graduation, whether they're pursuing college, whether they're entering the military or the workforce or some combination of those paths. What do those skills look like? We held a number of of focus groups where we brought in family members, students, staff, and community partners around tables and said, from your perspective, perhaps you are someone who might be hiring these young people when they are leaving the high school or when they are leaving a post-secondary program. What are you looking for in your employees, in your colleagues, in your neighbors? What's most important to you? And then the steering committee took that feedback, as well as a survey that asked the same questions for folks who couldn't make it to focus groups. The steering committee took that information and put together a draft. They wanted to make it accessible, they wanted to make it concise, they wanted to make it, again, applicable and relevant for everyone. And then they took that draft and put out another survey to the community. A huge, huge thank you to the Family Center here, who got it translated into a number of languages so that it could be accessible to all members of your community. And we put that survey out and got feedback from your community about how the steering committee had done with that draft. At our last meeting on Monday evening, they took one final look at what they had put together, made some revisions based on that feedback, and we have for you this evening a draft to take a look at. This is just a highlight reel of some of those focus groups where we were bringing, again, members of Athol High School staff, members of your community, and or Athol High School students together to engage in this process. So just wanted to recognize everyone who gave of their time and input for this process.
Including town manager Sean Sawowski and Richfield Center.
And so here is your final product, the proposed vision of a graduate for Athol-Royalston Regional School District has 4 key tenets, and they do happen to spell CASE. So superintendent was coming up with a number of catchy catchphrases that could be used to help remember that, but they are critical thinkers. They are active citizens. They are skilled communicators, and they are empowered individuals. So every young person who graduates from Athol High School or spends any time in your buildings at any point will be critical thinkers, will be active citizens, will be skilled communicators, and will be empowered individuals. And what does that mean? We break that down further into a number of I can statements. You see that in the second graphic.
It is a little, I apologize, it is a little difficult.
Yeah.
It's kind of small. If any of you have magnifying glasses, please feel free to bring them out. But we will make sure that we get some copies that are a little easier
Are
to
you
read.
able to click on the link there? Because if you look at where it says full graphic, that is a link, so we can expand the graphic a bit more.
Which one?
Bottom right.
Bottom right.
Oh, full graphic. Here we go.
And it's still small.
No, hold on. Let me see what I can do. Let's see. I know. I'm trying to see. I'll maybe go across and down, and then I can move across too. Just so, can people at least see it now? Is this okay?
I do want to say, when we got to this process, there were 71 people that responded. I thought the committee was very reflective and took a lot of the advice from some of the people that might have been negative towards it and made sure that we wordsmithed it to meet the needs of all of our stakeholders. So, I was proud of that work, to be able to identify some of the people that might not have bought into it and been able to make some of those changes.
I'll try to slide it across so we can take a look at some of the others.
So those 4 tenets, the critical thinkers, active citizens, skilled communicators, and empowered individuals, that will be the thread that sort of ties everything the district does, again, from pre-K through the graduation stage. Certainly, when you look at some of the I can statements, those are written for what we would envision for a high school graduate. But a kindergartner can still be a skilled communicator in their own right, in a developmentally appropriate way, as can a middle schooler, as can a 9th grader. So some of the work that comes next, assuming that the committee approves this as the vision to move forward, some of the work that will come next is saying, okay, this is our final vision. This is what we want when they cross that graduation stage, is for them to be able to say, I can, for all of these pieces. So if that's what we want by the end of 12th grade, well, what does that mean for the end of 8th grade? What does that mean for the end of 4th or 5th or 6th grade? What does that look like? And giving it back to your amazing educators to say, well, what does this look like in my classroom? Right? What are we already doing? Because so many of your teachers are already working towards these pieces. It's just putting it in writing and recognizing and lifting up that work they're doing. And if there are any opportunities, for example, the community was very eager to see a greater focus on financial literacy and money management for all graduates. And we know that that is available to some students at the high school, but perhaps it's not made widely available enough yet. So that may be a consideration for how do we make sure that all of our graduates are able to make sound financial decisions for themselves moving forward. As I said with the steering committee Monday evening, that might not happen on first day of school next year, right? That is a process, but this is what starts those important conversations about, well, what do we need to do? What are we already doing? And let's celebrate that, let's lift that up. And then where are there some opportunities for us to strengthen our programs and our offerings for our students to make sure they have exactly what they need to be successful?
And I will say, as a little aside, this vision really becomes part of our district branding, right? This becomes who we are and what we strive for our students to be. So this work was tremendously important, and even though it's not finished, this is going into all of the classrooms next year. Maybe not all of the elementary school classrooms just yet. They probably couldn't make that much sense of it, but it might be. My point being, we will be communicating about this and working on this and around this relentlessly, right? This is the work. We need to figure out how to get all of our students to have all of these 4 pillars. And there's work to be done. But as Ashley said, it's a North Star. We roadmap it backwards. But along the entire way, this will be in front of everyone. This will go out to the community so they know what our expectations are and what our vision is for the endpoint. The caveat is these are not the images that will end up staying. So do you guys mind if I talk a little bit about that next step? So one of the conversations we did have at the last meeting was, we're coming to the end of the school year and we've got the meat of this vision, right? But it's not necessarily as marketable as we'd like it with the visuals. And we were talking about, well, should we be plugging in different computer graphics? Should we get a designer? And we really were talking about, let's not try to rush that right now. Let's get the content of what we're looking to see. And then next year, maybe within the first couple of months of school, we could get the students more involved in this. Once they see it, once they start living this, what will their thoughts be on how to visualize this? So we were thinking that we'll have the students engage in either a competition or some kind of joint process where they're involved in identifying how they see these things and then how we represent them visually through our work. So that's just another piece that's forthcoming. I'm truly excited about all of the work because the more we work on this and the more everyone sees it and understands it, the clearer our vision is, right? As a community, everyone's on the same page. They know why we're here, they know what we're doing, and this is our expectation. It's also a commitment to the community, right? We will be graduating students this way. Not we hope to, we are going to. And as Dave mentioned, having that clear guideline assists him in identifying what pieces are missing from that puzzle. And that's the same all the way up, down to teachers' lesson planning, right? Something as simple as that, you say, well, how does this impact that? When teachers are designing their lessons and they're thinking, I understand the standard and the content material that the kids need to get, but what are the ways I need them to exemplify their understanding? That's when we go back to, are they thinking critically about this information? Can they use it, in their citizenship? Can they communicate about it? Do they share with one another? And again, not every content standard is going to fit into every single one of these aspects, but with an eye on this, it'll just keep the focus there so that our teachers are saying, what are the types of activities we want our kids engaging in? Because then the activities become what drives our students in this direction. So I just think it's a tremendous tool and it's a fabulous resource, and I'm really excited to be launching next year with the meat of it and continue with the development of the whole program. So I want to thank Ashley for her fabulous work. Facilitating adults, as many of you know, is not the easiest task, and she did a fabulous job, and everything went very smoothly. So thank you, Ashley.
It was truly, I said this to the team, it was a joy and an honor to get to to partner with the Athol-Royalston communities. I mean, this was so much heart work from the people that were involved. It was really a privilege, and so thank you for trusting Focus Schools and myself to partner with you on this project. It was really a pleasure, and I'm excited to see where this takes the school district in the coming years.
Any questions about it? Well, then, if there are no questions, we would ask that the committee consider and please vote whether or not you would like us to accept this draft as our vision of a graduate so that we can move forward with the remainder of the work.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Okay, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, none.
I thank you all. This is important work.
Okay, presentation on proposed cell phone use protocol.
Mr. King and Mr. Webster will be joining us. Do I need to queue up a different?
Let him speak.
Anthony is here.
We're putting Mr. Webster in the highlight.
You were just up here, yes.
He didn't take a lot of fire. You could give
I'm ready.
some
I'm ready.
slides. I'll step aside and work the remote for you, gentlemen.
All right, sounds good. So we're here to discuss an update as far as where we're at with our cell phone policy. We are looking to create a cell phone-free school culture as we're working in general to minimize the learning distractions with our students. And so we can hit the next slide. We're going to be talking about a policy we're developing in our schools. As you can see, our district seeks to provide students with a school environment that promotes academic focus, student well-being, and joy in our shared experiences as learners. And to help our schools achieve this environment, the district school committee directs that students not have access to personal electronic devices during the school day. And so that is what we proposed in talking with the policy subcommittee and wanted to present that to you. And then share a little bit more. You're going to step in?
Yeah, let me do that. No, do this next one.
Yep.
Because one of the things we did was we surveyed the community. And when we surveyed the community, there was definitely some angst with the cell phone policy. Us as educators, we believe, we have a high belief in ensuring that cell phones are away during the school day, but we wanted to also recognize that some of what was shared with us in that survey has some value, and we respect what they said. So when we started exploring how we would try to make that policy come to light, there's a lot of different options to keep cell phones away. And where we landed was in this pouch option. This is a Yonder pouch right here. The pouch option addresses the big concern of students not physically having their cell phones on them, and that was expressed numerous times throughout the survey. So this option here, the pouch option, is what we are recommending to, if we were going to implement the policy. That cell phone goes into the pouch, it gets locked up, and it is put away for the day, but it stays with the student on them. That is the most inclusive thing we could do to keep that cell phone on the student and kind of alleviate some of the anxiety that goes along with being removed from their cell phone. There are many other options, and if students would not be able to adequately meet that expectation of having the pouch, they would in fact move to the next level, and we'll show what that looks like in a few minutes. But we feel like that pouch right there is the best thing that we could do as a school district to hear and meet some of the concerns that we heard.
Can I just jump in and say, just to clarify, if people haven't seen the Yonder pouch, the process is the company installs these devices at specific entry points or exit points of the buildings, and those pouches have magnetic locks on them, that when they enter the building, they're required to put their phone in it and lock it, and then as they leave, they can unlock it, and then they're free to they keep their case, and then they keep their phone and bring it with them so that they have access to it in transport to and from school. So just to be clear about that.
We good?
Yeah.
Great. So in talking about how we might implement this, we put together some information for you as far as the time frame, the what and the where. And so if you can follow me for a moment after tonight's committee meeting, we can notify the community of the first reading of policy through an email. In July, the latter half of July, perhaps on the 23rd that evening, we could have an informational session. That would be the first of two, and the first we could host here in the library at the middle school. Then the second session would be in August on the 13th is what we're proposing. I snuck a little link there as far as an additional piece to that second session is along with informing folks. Was that? Well, it's basically, you don't have to, but it's a 2-minute video kind of describing a little bit about what Screenagers is. The reason why we put this documentary forward was we thought that educating the community is an important step because we're going to be relying on them to support students as well as we're supporting them in the classroom. And one experience that I've had previously was a very strong and meaningful one where there's this documentary, it's a little over an hour, and we would propose having this be shown at the auditorium at the high school where families would be able to come, observe the documentary, and then one option we thought of was afterwards having breakout sessions that could be led by some district administrators and leadership to talk about really what the results were. The families and the parents and the guardians are watching this and thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't realize how much this technology is woven into our daily lives. Not just a distraction in schools, but if we got a 2-hour drive to our grandparents for Thanksgiving, back when I was a kid, I'm looking out the window and arguing with my sister. Now it's playing Angry Birds on an iPad, and they're soothed for 2 hours. And so that's different forms of that really take shape in families in different ways, and that's an important conversation to have, we feel, as we educate our community so that we can work together in support of having this minimizing distraction kind of approach to school. So then after that, on the 20th is our next school committee meeting, and so we're hoping that there would be a second policy reading. And then afterwards, we're looking at initiating our policy. So first day of school is September 2nd, and we would be introducing to our student body our approach for the new policy for personal cell phone technology. Afterwards, here, these slides are examples of what we would implement more specifically this is more geared towards the secondary level, obviously, grades 5 through 12. I don't know if you want to speak
Yeah,
as far as high school.
I think what this stresses is we are giving the students an opportunity to meet our expectations with the privilege of using that yonder pouch. And that's what we will have to clearly explain, right? The school committee has established a policy that cell phones are away. This is a device that we have spent some money on to ensure that we're trying to meet their needs as much as possible while still keeping them away. And if they're not able to meet that expectation of using that yonder pouch responsibly, we do have to use a tiered system approach for any of these violations. So this is what we came at first run. These are not in stone, but these are still things that we're discussing. Before that first violation happens, we would make sure as schools we have done a thorough job of educating students, making them understand that we are serious about creating a culture here where cell phones are away. And at some point we would get into that first violation. It wouldn't be too long into it, right?
Maybe 15 minutes.
At the high school level, it would be, they would see that you're not able to meet the expectation. Their phone no longer goes in the yonder pouch, it goes into the locker box, which we currently using at the high school for students that can't keep their cell phones away. So click to that next slide. That's what we use. Right now it's on the wall in the front office. Students that don't meet our expectations of keeping their cell phones, their cell phone goes into that lock box, they take the key, and it's there for the entire day. So now it's that next step that they don't no longer have it on them, but it still meets the policy expectations. And there'd be a progressive discipline part. Start with 10 days, go to 30 days, go to 60 days, go to searching their bags. Students that destroy it, the value, $30 for that cell phone, for that pouch, we'd ask for them to pick up that cost, and if they can't afford it, community service hours would be required to meet that for any of those individuals that don't have the financial resources to pay that. But they still would have to put their phone in that lockbox for whatever duration of time that they are in the violation process.
As you can see in your packets, following that is the middle school version, which is similar. We have some small adjustments as far as going down the different steps for violations, but we're following in lockstep pretty much the same approach as the high school. So this is really, the whole district. And I mean, as far as you have it there in your pockets, for those of us kind of watching from home, the top reads that Athol-Royalston Middle School students are expected to secure and lock their personal electronic devices into their school-issued pouch. The yonder pouch upon entrance into the school, all personal devices, and that would be the cell phone. We have smartwatches now, earbuds, and different versions of earbuds. All those devices must stay secured until the end of the school day in the pouch. The pouches are big enough to be able to hold all of those items reasonably. All school-issued pouches are expected to remain in a student's backpack or otherwise properly secured for the duration of the school day, depending on the different needs of the kids. Sometimes we have different individual situations as far as how they secure things, but the idea is that they're put away but still accessible to the student in an emergency situation, things like that. That pretty much reads the same for both the middle and the high school, and as I mentioned, the three violation steps as well as destruction, there's some small adjustments just based on the middle school level approach compared to the high school, but we feel that they're pretty well grouped together. And so this is a wooden version of what we currently have in our office. We are essentially, it's the same approach. It's a little bit different at the middle school, so we don't know that it would be a good idea for a pre-adolescent kid to be walking around with their own key. It could end up swallowed or thrown or something like that, depending on the student's kind of mindset, kind of tongue-in-cheek there, but obviously we want to make sure that they're secured, and we would just use, this would be under the supervision of staff at the main office, and so the student would be dropping it off in the main office, it would be locked in this area and secured for the day, and then picked up at the end of the day. So that's just another example of how we kind of modify things based on the level of responsibility and maturity at the middle school level. That's what we got. And is that, I think, the last slide. So that's in a nutshell.
First, obviously the question will come up, what about students that might need a personal device for certain medical reasons or to monitor their blood sugar levels or whatever their medical condition is? Those are clear exceptions that those students will obviously be granted whatever access they need. Certainly if it's able to be limited and we don't want them talking on their phones when they're supposed to be checking their health records, but there will be those exceptions because that's one of the first questions. I know that we're going to be discussing this through the policy conversation in a little bit, but I would also throw out, Dave mentioned one of the concerns was, taking the physical phone away. And this was in response to this yonder pouch ideas in response to still allowing them to have it on their person. Another big concern that was expressed through the surveys was, well, what happens in an emergency, right? What happens in an emergency? So in an emergency, actually, all of the phones in all of our classrooms, offices, work, and they go direct, they can dial 911, and actually, it is safer to call from one of the interior phones and much faster to get a response if anyone calls from an interior phone, because depending on the day, if you make an emergency call from a cellular device, it now in this area, Athol has worked so that it does get routed to the right dispatch, but I've been told even depending on where you are, that may or may not happen. However, all of our classroom and office phones not only have direct contact to 911, but it will tell them at dispatch the exact location and room and or office of that phone. That's the call is being made from. So it is a significantly safer option than using a cellular device. I did have meetings with the public safety departments in Athol, and I can say all of our public safety departments support moving in the direction of limiting or eliminating cell phone use during the school day. One of the concerns, I know I spoke with Athol Police Chief, and we were discussing the other aspect that comes up is people think, what about a mass emergency, right? The cons to having cell phones during a mass emergency outweigh any of the pros. And Athol PD would agree that the cons outweigh the pros in the sense that, first of all, if there were an intruder in the building, we want our students, if they're locked down, to be quiet and to be hiding. As soon as anything gets texted or messaged out to the community via cell phone devices inside the building, those phones all across the building are going to start blowing up all over because it's parental instinct and it's understandable, right? But it's parent instinct. I've got to check on my kid. I'm going to text him. I'm going to call him or her. And phones start blowing up all over the place while you can't, right, while you're trying to hide. Another major issue is when this communication goes out to parents or out to the community from inside a building where there's an emergency happening, the whole community thinks it's their responsibility to respond, and they've got to go get their kid, or they've got to get to a certain place to make sure they know where their kid's going. That floods our streets, that blocks our actual pathways for the public safety to get access to the building. They would tell you they don't want parents and community members notified of what's going on because everyone rushing to a scene is the exact opposite of what we want to happen. Lastly, if and when people start using their cellular devices, and this has been shown to happen, and actually the police chief has said he's experienced it happen here, dispatch blows up, right? Those dispatch lines can become overloaded with calls from cellular devices and from parents at their homes, and they literally can have issues with the equipment there. I'm not suggesting the equipment is faulty in any way, but not only does the stuff just get flooded in, there's no way for the police to respond to all of those calls and all of that volume coming through the dispatch. So I just want to be clear, those were some of the concerns expressed, but I have met with public safety officials in the communities here. We had both police and fire from Athol and Royalston, and it was great conversations, and I believe everyone is supportive of moving in this direction. And as I said, to say the police chief was clear, the cons outweigh the pros, even in an emergency situation. So I think that's something that is lasting for the community to understand. Just wanted to put that out there. Any questions about their presentation or process in general?
Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
In your packet, under communications, you do have the district enrollment and also the technology report. Then, do you have questions on those at all? Okay. Moving on, MSBA update. There's, just so everybody's aware, there's a lot of stuff that is, it may look like, well, what's going on, or it's slow or whatever, but there's a lot of stuff that is actively happening behind the scenes. If it's not the superintendent with MSBA, I've been working with Senator Comfort and also Representative Whips on looking at some potential relief with that reserve fund. So again, and there's a lot of work during the regular school day with Dave and TJ and Matt. So again, a lot of things, a lot of timelines starting to come out.
Can I jump in for
Yes,
a second?
sir, you can.
One good example of that work that myself, TJ, and Dave, I thank him as well, we were just at AOTV yesterday, and we actually put together an episode of the Bears Den as we were discussing, and we put together a 37-minute informational piece on the MSBA project, specifically the feasibility study portion of the project, what led us as a district to be interested in the feasibility study, and what led us to applying for this fabulous grant program in the first place. So we're hopeful that, we haven't reviewed it yet. We just got the link late this afternoon from Jake, who was fabulous, but we're hopeful that it came out good enough. And I do know that the information is very valuable and pertinent for the community to hear. So that's just a piece of some of the work that's going on.
Any questions? No, seeing none. Move along to financial statements and approval of accounts.
Thank you. So the first thing is the cafeteria. You have two contracts for you to review for approval. One is the cafeteria workers and the other one is the cafeteria managers. So in your packet, you'll find them. And what I did is the sections are summarized as the sections that change, and anything that is in bold is what changed. So I'll briefly go over them, and I'll start with the managers, or I'll kind of do both of them at the same time. So the insurance section changed for both of them to mention the 70-30 participation that was approved by the school committee prior. Under paid holidays, we added in the Juneteenth. That will be a paid holiday if it falls within the employee's scheduled work year and work week. The clothing allowance was previously $150, we increased it to $200. Promotional opportunities, we just changed the wording about vacancies being posted. Coverage due to absences, just simple stuff, just telling them they have to put their absences into a frontliner system. And then the next section goes over the increases. So we have already met with the managers and the workers, and they have agreed to this also, pending their approval, and our legal has reviewed it also, just so you know. So for the increases, it's a proposed of $1 increase for next year, 50-cent increase the year after that, and 2.5% increase in the last year. Combined, that ends up being a little bit over a $2 increase in total for both parties.
Per hour.
Per hour, yes. Yep. Longevity, we increased the longevity by $100 for each year that's mentioned, 10 years, 15, 20, and 25. And then we just added in additional wording about your absences in the front line, because we really, that's not always done. We make life easier, so we do that. So that gives you a brief summary, and if you have any questions.
I would just want to interject as well. I do believe everyone here is understanding of this. The cafeteria budget does not come out of the general fund budget. So technically, any of these changes that we're agreeing to are simply in support of moving in this direction for their working conditions and their salaries, but this won't impact the general budget at all. They have to maintain a separate cafeteria budget. And that's why this really went the route of Nancy, myself, and Carol sat down and reviewed all of the finances, tracked how things have been going for the last few years, saw what changes Carolyn is trying to make for next year, and we're very confident that all of these changes can be absorbed within their budget. So that's the goal, and we do think that this gives them a significant increase. It's a great thanks to them because they deserve the pay, but it's certainly not going to break the cafeteria budget either.
Is there a motion to vote on the cafeteria manager's contract first? Is there a second? Discussion, any? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, opposed, abstentions? Okay. And next, the cafeteria workers contract. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Okay, discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, opposed, abstentions? Okay, thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Nancy.
Next, we're looking for approval of the cell phone pouches, the Yonder pouches that was just discussed by Mr. King. So in your packet, you'll find the invoice included. So the total amount for the pouches are $29,548.50. We would like permission from the committee to purchase this and take it from school choice. It gives us enough pouches for the middle school, the high school, and 15% extra additional pouches in case of damage. Yeah. I'm not gonna go into it
Well-
anymore because I think go ahead.
Yeah, the only piece that I would add with respect to the financial aspect is we did look for other quotes, to be clear. We did find one other company that makes a similar product, but they're only distributed in Europe. So I believe Yonder Pouch has a monopoly on the market here in the United States, and this other company has in the market in Europe. Dave did explore a couple of other options that he's in the process of exploring. Dave,
Yeah.
did they come in?
We do have them here.
We haven't seen the samples. Amazon produces a rubbery plastic one. We asked for a sample on it. I have no idea how it works. I've asked other people. No one uses them in the schools. Everyone uses Yonder in the school systems. And there's another device called maybe New Case. It's a hard plastic clear case, so you can see right through it. It clicks together, it opens back up.
So I think.
No one uses anything besides Yonder in the
Yeah,
school.
true.
I think the clear might be tough because the phone numbers are gonna see it.
And they'll see all their text messages coming through also. That being said, I do just want to be clear, we're doing our financial diligence and being responsible by looking for these other products. We can, if the plastic ones from Amazon or the rubbery ones that we check out work, great, maybe we do go in that direction. I think what we should do is potentially vote on authorizing a purchase of some type of device to allow us to put the cell phones away up to the cost of the Yonder pouch. And then if we're able to find an alternative that is cheaper, we certainly, and again, we would have to determine it was valuable and effective. But we haven't seen some of these products, or had our hands on them at least. So I think that the proper thing to do would be approve the purchase of these pouches up to the cost of the Yonder pouches.
One other thing I did want to also mention, so if we went the Yonder route, with year 2, the cost would be approximately $3,000 to $5,000. So they actually give us a discounted price of $20 a unit for the next year. And then what would happen is the seniors, their devices would go down to 5th grade, right? Fifth or 6th grade, whatever the lower.
Yep,
Yeah.
at the middle
Would go-
level.
right, would go
Either
down
at
to the 5th
RCS
grade.
or at ARMS.
So the cost would be a lot less than this one would be.
Is there a motion? Right.
Cell phone pouch up to the price of the Yonder invoice here, $28,731.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Thank you. And the last thing I have is requesting to see if the school committee will vote approval for the school committee to have electronic signature for our warrants.
I'll make a motion to approve the school committee for electronic signature warrants. There's a second.
Discussion. I think definitely in this day and age, I can't always get here during the day to get a signature or whatever. So, I mean, even in my own career, we use, whether it's DocuSign or whatever it is, on a daily basis. So I think this is a smart approach for us to do that. And, signatures are a lot easier from people if you can do it electronically. Any other? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. Opposed? None? Okay, thank you, Nancy. Reports of the chair. I don't have anything this evening. We already updated MSBA. So budget and finance, if there's any additions to Nancy's report, it's always easy to follow Nancy and say budget subcommittee because it's already reviewed. And you do have the recent minutes. Facilities.
We did meet this evening, and TJ updated us on a bunch of different projects that are going on. And I have to say, he's doing a great job at keeping building maintenance up to date and handling problems immediately. So I, again, want to give him and his team a lot of thanks for all they do to keep everything up and running.
Academic excellence.
We'll start meeting in August.
Public relations.
We haven't had a meeting yet, but we probably will be very soon.
Okay. Policy subcommittee.
I can speak to that. We met this month, meeting minutes will be included in our August agenda. We have our first reading on the cell phone policy that we've spent the meeting talking about. This policy was taken from Pioneer Valley, who already implemented the cell phone bell-to-bell policy. So this language was driven from that.
Can I pause you before we go into the reading so I can alleviate Russ's concerns? We've had some conversations to the side. The process that we're looking to follow is we were planning on having a first reading of the policy this evening, and then we'll go on to endeavor to have those family nights and communication sessions at the middle and high school through July. And hopefully that will bring the community out. We'll get all of the questions answered. And then in August, we would intend to have a second reading of the policy. However, we will be asking to waive the third reading of the policy. Right, so in August, we do the second reading and waive the third so that we could have the policy approved and implemented in time for the start of school at the end of August. So that's the plan, and I just want to make that clear to the public listening. So because there won't be, I understand it's an important policy and it's a pretty big to-do in our district. It's not that we're trying to avoid having all of the readings. We don't have a meeting scheduled in July, so instead of scheduling an emergency meeting just to read a policy, we decided to take this route. So we will be communicating with our entire community about when these info sessions will happen. We will be getting out more information about what the plan is. And then in August, we would have the second and final reading of the policy.
Yeah, and the posting would indicate that. The next posting would actually have the policy, second read, and a motion to waive the third reading, so people would see that up front too, if you did it that way.
Is there a motion for the first reading? Go ahead, Frank. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, seeing none, all those in favor? Okay. All right, thank you. Next, committee member referrals, Tammy.
I don't have any referrals, other than to make sure that when we come back in August, we talk about Matt's goals.
Yep.
And then just to thank all the teachers and the staff that are listening or here for an awesome year for our kids. We know how hard you work, and I know our kids aren't always easy, so thank you for making the end of the year fun. They're really enjoying it, so thank you for everything you do.
None here.
I just wanted to thank Ms. Gessner for all her hard work putting together the slideshow today and everything she did for the fourth grade step-up ceremony. She definitely brought the tears for all the parents like we were hoping, so thank you for that.
I want to thank the staff at the high school who took the kids to DC, and the kids had, from my understanding, a really good time. And I want to give kudos to Ann DeBarros for all her hard work, because I don't know that trip happens without all the efforts she puts in and everything she does for that group, so.
Okay, you do, just as closing, you do have an updated school committee meeting schedule that you received, so that has been adjusted to remove the July meeting. If no other business to come before the committee, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Just a quick.
Sure.
Jody, if you could make sure legal gets it, because there's always a mess up in February where we come the second week instead of the third. So if we could get that, I'll copy over. You got it? Okay. I know sometimes she's like, I didn't know there was a meeting, and I'm like, it's okay. Right.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. See you in August.